getting the students to understand the earnings and how they can earn more, and how their achievement and their behavior and their attendance and all these other things can contribute to better outcomes. In this case, financial, but in the larger picture, just better outcomes in the larger sense. And so it's the example I gave this gentleman over here, where you do get teachers collaborating, and you also get parents who come in and say, what's going on? I've been on the phone with parents, and I've gone into the data. They said, look, my student only earned $20, and it says he didn't come to any of his classes. He's there all day, and I can go in the data and I can say, well, look at the data. Here are the teachers that said that your student was late to his or her class in the last 2 weeks, and you can hear the parents saying, well, what? And this is news to them. And it's not because they're bad parents. In a lot of cases, unfortunately, a lot of our DCPS parents, they work odd hours. They work all the time. They don't have the time to always engage in such ways, and know that their student isn't coming to class, or know that their student isn't doing homework. So it's an additional engagement piece.
And are there conversations like that happening at the school level with the kids to help them understand that this is now a financial reward, but this does translate later on into when you go to your classes in high school, you will find yourself with more opportunities post-graduation. When you go to your job and you do well, you'll find yourself with better financial salary rewards.
Yeah, I would say yes. I certainly can't speak to it in every classroom in every one of our schools, but when we do go and talk to the teachers say, this is the one thing I've been hammering home to my students is this is temporary, but it does translate to the bigger thing. But that isn't to say that all our teachers are necessarily doing that. Yeah.
As a special educator, I sort of wonder, I think back as you were saying that to some of my kids that I taught for years, and I can just imagine their behaviors and their grades not being up to snuff, and part of it being part of their disability.
Sure.
And I'm just wondering if there's been issues in special education.
It was one of the things we were very mindful at the beginning, and there's a couple different answers to this. There's one, when students are self-contained in special education, they're with their special education teacher all day, and they can make those, the special education teacher has the leeway to make those accommodations within the capital gains program. So behavior for a student with real behavior issues on their IEP, the special education teacher understands you set that bar at how does a student normally, and use that as an incentive to really pull up his or her behavior. And certainly it's different, and there have been situations where students who aren't self-contained, who are in my special education terminology, was that? Yeah, inclusion classrooms. There have been some questions about, well, how do we do this? And we've made accommodations in all the cases where it's arisen. So in a math class, for example, at one of our schools, we worked with the math teacher, the special education teacher, to make sure that the special education teacher was the person reporting the math grade, not the math teacher. So we've been very mindful of that. I can't say 100% of the time we've done it correctly, but we were from the outset very, very cognizant of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Is the current test that you give in your state test, are they reported at the individual level, those results?
The end of which level?
Individually, are they?
Yeah. Well, I don't know the answer to that. I know we get them by school, but I don't know if we actually.
The teachers get them by.
They do. Okay. Actually, yeah.
But is that driving in a way to the
No. The one I will say, just as context, the Chicago and New York programs, the way that those programs are different. We do this bi-weekly over the course of the year. Chicago does quarterly report cards. So it's not as immediate, but the money is all tied to academic achievement in each of those 4 quarters. And then in New York City public school students take 12 standardized tests in the course of the year. And the financial rewards are tied directly to how those students take those, do on those tests. So those are some of the other ways that
But yours is not tied to those standardized
right,
tests.
no, it's just how they do in the classroom every 2 weeks. Yeah.
I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this data since it's, the program just started last fall, but looking at how many times students are reported for behavior to the office, if you've noticed an increase or a decrease in that number, because I would think that it could go one of 2 ways. Either they actually are incentivized and are performing better overall and causing fewer behavior problems, or there could be some pushback from students who realize that they cannot make or feel like they cannot attain the goal anyway.
Yeah.
And so they're starting to act out more in school. Have you had a chance to look at
I
that?
think there's a couple answers to that. The first is the Capital Gains Office has not been tracking it, but that's something that the Ed Labs folks are going to definitely use as part of their evaluation. The problem with that, unfortunately, is that for a lot of DCPS schools, the data that's collected at the school level, separate from capital gains, is not always the greatest. Our attendance, we've done a much better job this in the past 2 years, I should say, but really this year of improving attendance entry from last year to this year, and so our attendance is very good. But those other ways in which we would capture referrals to the office, in a lot of cases, don't exist. You know, our schools are not tracking a simple office referral. Certainly, you know, suspension or an expulsion gets reported, but that's, you know, a higher level than that office level suspension. So the data just isn't there for us to look at.
You mentioned a couple of minutes ago. You mentioned that you've seen, you have witnessed increased parental involvement. Have you directly? What are the parents actually saying? Have you had any direct contact with parents yourself? Well, even
all
with
the time.
students?
Yeah. So there's kind of two levels here. There's the school level and then the central office level. And so we've got the Capital Gains Office in DCPS, and then we've got our 15 schools. And in each of our schools, there's a school site coordinator, and some of our bigger schools there's actually 2 and 3. In addition to which the principals are part of this program as well, and so the principals engage on this. And so the bulk of what of the parental stuff is happening at the school level. And so obviously I haven't been in any of those meetings, but we've heard from principals, teachers, coordinators, everyone about more parents coming in because, you know, the certificates that the students earn or get every 2 weeks show something that they think is wrong, or they want to know if this is right, what's going on. At the central office level, we get kind of some of the harder problems, or if a parent won't, if a parent wants more information than what the school has given them, the school will refer them to us. We keep exhaustive log, which we get a number. We've taken a lot of constituent calls centrally, and you know, like I said, a lot of the parents will call with the problem, but at the end of the conversation, you know, say, by the way, I even though I think you got it wrong this week, I still think this is a great program and y'all should continue it next week, or next year rather. So all that's to say is, I think generally what we've heard is very positive. And I think another indicator of this is what I was saying before, the number of families that opted their students out. With 3,300 kids in the program in the district, only 20 families did. Yeah.
I understand the focus is to make sure that this money goes straight to the children and with this parental involvement. I was just wondering, is there anything that gets sent to the parents informing them of like how much their child is getting or what their points are, so that parents can keep track of?
Sure.
Like, I know you're saying that some parents come in and they say, this doesn't look right. Like, what are they?
So that's one thing I should have put in the presentation. Every payday, so that's the Friday after the 2-week pay period, students receive a certificate. And this is something that it's a Capital Gains branded certificate that says, congratulations, this is how you did this week. In attendance, you earned 5 points, $10. In behavior, X points, X dollars, all the way down. And one of the things we did early on that our schools really appreciated was in the academic categories, the grades, it won't simply say you earned 6 points. It'll actually say your average on the 2 weeks was a 78 in math, and that translates to X amount of dollars. And the schools said that this was great because it's really giving the students concrete on paper, this is how you're doing in that class, or your average for the 2 weeks. However, those certificates are only distributed to the students. We do not mail them to the parents, but that's an accounting that the students get.
Right. So it's kind of up to whether the students show their grades or not.
Right. And keeping in mind that these are 6th and 7th and 8th graders, if one of the younger kids is disappointed with what he gets, he will go home and say, I don't think this is right, or I'm upset about this. Yeah.